So today will be part one of a two-part series where I'm going to preview the Game Changers Championship. Today we're going to focus on the 4 Americas teams, and then Monday we're going to focus on the 4 other teams. And we're going to kick it off with Shopify Rebellion, who were version 1 before that, and the first thing I want to say about them is that they have some really cool rounds like this one, where they're going to go for what looks like a B hit with the Harbor and the Yoru here and the Sky as well. But you can see we got a gate crash over here, and instead, we're coming back towards A.
Maybe Soto picks one up this round just to figure out what the attack is. But V1's been moving fast, so Wingman has to move quicker.
Oh man, Mel. I can tell Mel is loving the Harbor so far.
It's crazy, right?
It is.
Just looks so comfortable on it. Fake out towards B. A is a thank you very much. Plant between shrimp and crab. And now they can just dump utility into that if they need to, whether it be blinds or some gates to push out or a paranoia straight through the middle to really block it. 5v5 though. This is one of my favorite parts about Breeze. You get a lot of 5v5 retakes where everybody's available, all the util. So let's see what happens.
I'm trying to make the fix here. Get that retake in. They've taken up so much space, but now this is where the pings start to come through. Actually, alert from Mel that would have actually converted this round up to V1. It seems like they have to try to push for some sort of engagement. That's being made. They've taken out the player, attempting the defusable floor around the back. They have the potential, still making a 2K from floor.
And it's funny, that round represents so much of what else we're going to talk about, but one of the things you saw at the end there is that Shopify have some very, very high-level individual players.
Warded for it. The first kill comes through, not able to convert on the second. Noi is here with the flash in her face, has to reposition. Now the second, you see the stars dropping. Somehow Noi is staying alive, finding a cheeky angle, but blinded by the wall. Couldn't see a thing. Already swings out on the punish. 4 from backside. Countering a 2v2. Starbound still with the optic flick from the floor once again. Outrageous.
She's safe. She's safe with it.
There's
unbelievable.
No way.
And Shopify are a very strong team and are arguably favorites for this tournament, but they do have some problems as well. Take a look at this round I'm about to show you, where we just end up in a 5v4 against an eco, everything under control, but they end up just kind of wanting to be a bit too aggressive in holding the site when there's really not much need to, and it ends up costing them this round.
You can allow those late round pivots. Instead, they're looking for a pick with Keency. Opportunity was given before. They're challenging the floor.
Well, Keency not looking the right way, blindsided and clotheslined.
That's surprising that Floor just shot that dart.
Up close and personal, finding value with the Sheriff's Mouse on the swing. And we've seen, what, 3 kills now, where 1 player's...
But then, just as bizarrely as sometimes maybe they can be a little over-aggressive, which plenty of teams are guilty of being, and you might have seen this in the first clip I showed as well, sometimes they can be very, very passive, like weirdly passive. And this is a good example of it here on Bind against EG, where you see we're going to take the B site without too much trouble. We're going to come in here and we have the whole B site, right? You know, this dog's going to come in here. Doesn't really matter. We take the site. We're good. And at this point, they can kind of choose whatever post plant they want, right? They can do whatever they want really in this situation. But take a look at what they do.
You like that coming out? Yeah, the elbow control is fine, but you allow them to get in post plant. We've seen multiple rounds where V1 have solid post plant ideas here. And look, they're even considering all the flanks as well for not giving up.
Yeah.
Anything that they've been punished for earlier. V1 has just kicked it up into a new gear.
EG contact out onto the site. Thea still has the smoke. Op in the hands of Starbound, flashed initially. Gotta find value with that op, man. The first snap is clean on Keency. Thea has gotten it to half. Thea's gonna hold it. Hold off.
Molly's on. Molly's on.
Halfway there. The op finds value. Floor by herself, and she can't do it. The defuse comes through, and EG once again. Map point.
So SR are definitely going to be one of the favorites for this tournament, but I do have some concerns that sometimes they can be a bit disrespectful to their opponents and maybe a bit over-aggressive, but sometimes they can also be a bit too respectful to them and a little bit too passive as well. Okay, let's move on to the other North American team, which is EG, and let's start off with the fact that they can be pretty proactive on defense. This is something that they like to do on quite a few of their maps. And this is a good example of it here, where we've got this double stack who are going to get aggressive here towards Shower. We've got these two who are aggressive towards Hooker who are going to come down here. And then when this kind of doesn't find much early on, they then go looking for other opportunities to be aggressive as well.
With the B site and plenty of options for Mel in that clutch. There's the TP flash again.
Finding way more value this time.
It's too clean. Flawless this time, and again, back up to the soul, third of the half, fourth. This is such a good tool against the op, it's ridiculous.
They're trying to hunt him down, oh, but they get clotheslined. Perhaps not clearing lamps.
Another thing that EG will do a lot is actually buy an attacking op with Starbound as well, particularly when they are playing Chamber. And if you can hit shots like this, it makes a lot of sense.
You're right. Mel tucked,
Nice.
the kill found.
That's a beautiful little movement
Yes,
for
it
Mel
was.
to at least get one. Right, move herself into more of an off-ramp.
What was that flash? Unfortunate for Flores. Starbound creeps just out of the smoke at the right time to land the shot.
But there are moments, there are times with EG where you just are left wanting a little bit more, like this round, right? Where it's 12-10 here on Haven against V1, who are now SR, and they've got 4 ults. And you just think, is this a chance to use them, right? Because what's happened in this round is that V1 have managed to get to this position where their Sky is heavily pushed up, and EG are now going to re-explore back towards A. And they're actually going to Omen ult out here in a second, right? So you can see that they ping down the positions that they think players might be. They Omen ult. They know this Sky has to be here, right? They know the Sky is there, and we're going to get the Seekers. We're going to get a flash coming out in a second just there. And at this point, I'm just thinking, just breach ult. Right, just now that they've sent out the second flash, especially, like, you know, just ult them, right? It's a free kill. It's an ult for a kill. You take that 100% of the time. Instead, we end up with this awkward, like, we're droning, but we're dashing ahead of the drone, and we end up dying here instead, you know, and then we end up getting caught by the other side of it as well, you know, and it's just, there's just moments like this one where it's just a little off, and you just think, you know, this is for the game. You know, you had the game was potentially right here, you know, this map in hand if we just use our ults there. And the elephant in the room with EG really is that they've had to make a roster change since actually qualifying for this event. So obviously it's kind of a bit of a shrug your shoulders, don't know how EG will actually do, you know, with that new player embedded in the system. Okay, now let's move on to Kru Blaze. And one thing that I think Kru Blaze did really well in some of the games that I watched was in some of their defaults. You better be wary if you're going to be aggressive on them, as these clips show.
Cuatro, la ventaja para la escuadra de Visa, Kru Blaze, que van ahora dominando la zona de medio, pero muy tranquilas. Y no se puede control. Aparece la buscadora, consigue la primera Romy, se va para atrás. Ahora sí la joven cibernética para venir a buscar y puede conseguir la segunda para Romy. Por favor, me saco el sombrero. Y la posibilidad de ir a descontar, de ir a sacar. Ahí está entonces la fosa vípera desplegada para el control total de la zona central del mapa. La jaula cibernética que le da la cobertura a Romy está Cami del otro lado. Podría ser un duelo entre centinelas demasiado cerca. Por acá está la información. Estaba Romy contra para hacer demasiado cerca. Aparece entonces la jaula cibernética nuevamente para cubrirse. Recarga y sale con todo. Los flash y la carcasa de pintura para hacer el arte rupestre. Acaba de ingresar. Cuidado con esto porque igual está ahí en el fondo.
Ay, me gusta. Cool Stinger, nada más ni nada menos. Cuidado, que todavía queda acción. Se ven las caras. Ahí está el código que termina ganando Romy. Atención con la cámara fría que finalmente nuevamente gana el Inter.
And Kru Blaze can have some really nice round ideas as well, like this one here on Bind, where what we're going to see is this dog coming into shower. They're going to go for some heavy shower pressure just here, push them back off that angle. Then you've got this little Fade Seize lineup coming in here as well that you see that, again, is just to re-pressure anyone in here. It catches the raise just there. The smokes come in. We're actually going to blast back into this corner just here, which is nice, like a very little odd play, but you've created so much pressure showers that no one even really notices. You then manage to get this kill on the 1 HP Viper just there, and then you basically just pinch on everyone else and deal with the flank as well. It's a really nice round. The thing that I think is really difficult with Kru in general, though, is that they just absolutely destroy everyone. Right? They haven't really faced anyone who is nearly at their level, and so they just go and destroy everyone. So it's difficult to know, like, is that because their competition just, you know, isn't up to standard, or is that because they are truly that good? It's very difficult to know with them, and sometimes it's difficult to even, you know, truly evaluate them when they're just, like, they can get out of any situation, right? Their util doesn't have to be perfect. Their timings don't have to be perfect because they'll just out-aim their opponents anyway, you know, and someone will pop off and they'll just win the round, right? So it becomes very difficult at times to figure out, like, is this them being good or is this their opponents not being good enough? And I guess, you know, we don't really have those Game Changers tournaments regularly enough to really know at this point. And then finally, let's move to Team Liquid Brazil. And the first thing really about their team is, you know, a lot of these Game Changers teams might have 1 or 2 players who are really like standout, you know, really popping off players. But for Team Liquid Brazil, I think really all of them have their moments.
Assombrar já gasto. Grata Ruhu. Jojina se posicionando dentro do ponto, vai ter abertura, spot adversário, pegou a primeira, deitou a segunda, adversário, a terceira vem na mira. 4 kills da Jojina, caiu pra...
And because of that player's skill, and when the team is playing pretty cohesively, they can get themselves out of certain scenarios like this one, where they're in a 4v5 retake, but they're gonna do it very cleanly.
Spike vai trabalhar nesse afterplant. A equipe da Loud. Bebedor explosivo, em conjunto, 5 contra 4, só são 3 jogadoras muito machucadas. Da Loud por aqui. Daiki puniu a primeira. Tem movimentação, Jojina. Trouxe mais um abate. E agora
Jojina tem paranoia.
Deixa
Chegou 2.
Esse trabalho agora com vantagem numérica para a equipe da Team Liquid. Mandizin. Vai ter abertura ali pelo lado. Mandizin de novo na tentativa ainda. Daiki chegou, puniu. Jojina contribui com mais uma eliminação. Cai todo mundo e vai pro desastre.
Problem for me with Team Liquid though is that sometimes, or perhaps too often, I think, if that kind of first plant doesn't go great, you can see kind of, you know, some disunity amongst the team. We're just not in sync. We're not playing together necessarily like this, where, you know, they go for this kind of fast A ramp hit. Okay, the Raze ult comes out, somehow doesn't get a kill. Don't ask me how. But, you know, we kind of get stalled at the door. We don't quite get in onto the site. And now, you know, we need to come up with another plan. I mean, they're still in a perfectly fine position. There's nothing necessarily, you know, they don't need to panic here. But you're going to see, we're going to end up entering the site without, you know, full smokes. Even though we would have had smokes if we just waited like a second, right? So we've got 1 smoke here. I don't know why we can't wait the extra like 5 seconds that, you know, if they just did, they would have another smoke for heaven. Instead, they have to send their nade there, right? And so then, you know, we don't have the util to clear all our corners. But as I said, we haven't really, you know, we just needed to wait a couple seconds for the smoke to come back up. And then even when they get into this position and we end up back in a 3v3, you don't need to panic at this point. And again, like the spike is out in a, you know, fairly dangerous position, but we have our own ult, right? So we can do anything. We can go to B if we want to and go plant there if you really want to. You know, the time might be a bit off, but you know, getting the spike shouldn't really be a problem. But we also have paranoia. We're gonna get, you know, we have a smoke. We got 2 TPs. Like, you know, there's things that we can do here, but instead we just end up, you know, running out. And it just feels like, I don't know. You know, it feels like there's potentially better things to be done here than what ended up happening, which is, you know, just run out, die, don't even pick up the spike. You know, it becomes very difficult to win this position from here, and they lose the round. And so for Team Liquid, it's kind of an interesting one, where I do think they are a very high-skilled team just from the eye test, but again, it's so difficult to know with these Game Changers teams how they actually compare to the others, because we don't see them play international tournaments. You know, we only get 1 a year, so it's very difficult to know the skill gap between the teams. And so that is the preview of the first 4 teams. As I said, I'll be doing another video of these to preview the 4 other teams, and then I'll be making a pick'ems video trying desperately to guess what might happen just before the tournament starts.